Oneness is always the case all the time. In a sense, there is no stepping outside of oneness. There's only the appearance of not being one. For most humans, the perception of oneness is unfamiliar to them. At least until they have the experience and perception of oneness, and then it all comes. Then it all comes back to them. And then there's kind of a remembering or a recollection of that which they are intrinsically a part of. The perception of oneness that I describe is mainly that which is had in a meditative state. But once the perception is had, then the implications bleed through into the rest of our waking experience. Because once we remember who we are and from where our thoughts and experience come from, there's really no going back. But that's not really the case, because we can go back into deep states of non-clarity. When our mental faculties are so active and so fiercely driven that it gives the appearance that our essential nature as one, and one with the totality, which is consciousness, and then what tends to happen at that point is what was the former ego is superseded by a different kind of ego, one that might call itself spiritual, or whatever one decides to paint the experience. So that's inevitable, and that's pretty normal. In the perception of oneness, our thoughts and our senses seem to merge into this singular manifestation. It's really impossible to describe because our sensory inputs and our thoughts become one thing. And of course our senses, and of course the external world, being essentially the sum of what arrives through our sensory inputs, then then it becomes clear how everything is one. This is how it's all one. It's you. All of it is you. When you listen to these words, these words are also you. Because you and I aren't really different. If it's a struggle, and you feel that you haven't quite seen or felt this oneness, try asking a question. When you're meditating, close your eyes. pay attention to your sense perceptions. You're being fed sensory information all the time. It's continuous and it's nonstop. The source of your voice, your thoughts, and your sense perceptions are one and the same. So as we expand our consciousness, in the same way that if we look at a tree from the very top down, its branches might look independent of each other. Say if you're looking at like a deciduous tree, its branches from the top, they might look independent. But if we expand our consciousness, the branches all come to a single point in the trunk. It's much the same way. You are the one behind all of these perceptions. Just be still. Be curious. Be authentic. It's always accessible. It's always there. It will always be there. The more your consciousness expands, the less you buy into linear time. Because in the timeless dimension, the space of time that was 1 second ago or 5 seconds ago is no longer part of the past, but is incorporated into your present moment. And that's how the expansion occurs. And as the expansion continues, your present moment, and thus your consciousness, expands with it. And as far as I can tell, there is no end point. There is no terminus to the expansion of consciousness. When this perception is particularly deep and profound, there is a sense of an eternal being. Completely timeless and deathless and unborn. And it is you. But in a sense, you are meeting yourself. And when yourself meets you, it meets you with unconditional love. And so when you see it, when you finally see it, that is what meets you. It's beauty beyond compare. I might be wrong, but it seems that when you're doing the things that you know you should be doing in your normal waking life, the ease with which you come into contact with this dimension is increased. Very often our thoughts are manifestations of their internal manifestations that force us to pay attention to the things in our life that we're not paying attention to. The important things in our lives that we know we must pay attention to. Our relationships, our career, the things we need to do at home. But really it's whatever it is we believe that we must be doing. So when we're working in harmony, with our idealized self, then it seems that we come into contact with our expanded identity at the same time. This is at least how it appears to me. It's a work in progress, but I think that's pretty close. If I've had a productive day and I did all the things that I wanted to, at the end of the day, it seems to be that meditation becomes that much easier. And yet I know that the expansion of consciousness is available to us at any moment. whether we succeed or fail, doesn't ultimately matter. As long as we approach the door, that's what matters.